I am excited to introduce your very next project. This centers around the culture of Japan, as it is the theme for our next theme semester. While last year's was the Caribbean theme semester, students from the Semiotics and Symbology course created Caribbean-styled logos. One of them was chosen for the logo to represent the school. Therefore, you two will be creating logos, and a panel of MSSU faculty and administration will review the different logos and choose one of yours to be printed on the brochures and media for this next theme semester. So just to go over a couple cultural symbols that are important to Japan, I want to ensure that you use them correctly. The chrysanthemum is the emblem of the Japanese imperial family. Chrysanthemums are symbolic of good luck, happiness, long life, and wealth. The shape of the chrysanthemum petals resembles the sun. The chrysanthemum, or kiku in Japanese, was first introduced to Japan from China in the 5th century. During that period, Japan was greatly influenced by Chinese culture. In addition to Chinese dress, calligraphy, and art, the Japanese imperial family fell in love with the Chinese flower too. They used the image of the chrysanthemum on official seals and even the throne. Thus, the imperial family got the name chrysanthemum throne, and the flower remains the symbol of the Japanese emperor today. The royal chrysanthemum is yellow and multi-layered, with 16 petals to the front and 16 petals to the back. However, real chrysanthemums are not limited to one color or shape or specific number of petals. The colors of the chrysanthemum occur in red, pink, yellow, white, and purple. The Japanese red cedar, otherwise known as the Japanese sugi pine, or known to the Japanese as sugi, is a large evergreen tree which is native to Japan. It can reach up to 70 meters in height and can reach trunk diameters of 4 meters. It serves as the national tree of Japan and is often planted around shrines and temples. So cherry blossoms have really rich symbolic meaning, as they symbolize spring, a time for renewal, and the fleeting nature of life. And the reason for that being is because cherry blossoms have very short lifespans. After their beauty peaks around 2 weeks, the blossoms then start to fall. So thus they symbolize beauty and frailty of life. The koi fish also have very significant symbolism within Japanese culture. The meaning is for fortune and good luck. They are also associated with perseverance and adversity and strength of purpose. The koi fish symbolize abundance and perseverance as well. Symbolic in Buddhism, the koi represent courage. Today, the fish are considered to be symbolic of advancement both materially and spiritually. One of the primary reasons the fish are symbolic in Japanese culture is because it is known for swimming upstream no matter what the conditions are. They're even said to swim up waterfalls. Thus, it makes sense that they're symbolic for overcoming adversity and showing courage. Koi swimming downstream are considered bad luck, so you will want to make sure that they're shown swimming in an upstream direction in your themed logo should you choose to use them. The Japanese flag is a reflection of the metaphor for a rising sun, a postmark of the culture's tradition and mythology. The Japanese flag depicts a red disc representing the rising sun against a white background. This, of course, is a symbol of Japan's strong connection throughout the ages to the sun. Even Japan's name for itself, Nihon, translates to origin of the sun. This connection is obviously partially due to the lack of any land anywhere near to the east of Japan, but there's also strong mythological ties, and the Emperor of Japan was thought to be a descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu. It is said that the green pheasant is a messenger of Amaterasu, the sun goddess. Amaterasu was the ruler of the heavens, so her association with the pheasant made it a symbol of power, abundance, and promise. It is also believed that pheasants can detect an earthquake a few minutes before the happening and make loud sounds. I think that the way that they're silhouetted is really beautiful and can make for really exciting designs for your logo. You'll also want to think about patterns and prints associated with the culture. Japanese wave tattoos often symbolize strength and life through art. The waves also signify the natural ebb and flow of day-to-day life. Seigeha literally means blue sea and waves. It was used to illustrate seas and oceans on maps. The water and waves also symbolize power and resistance, key elements of Japanese culture. The waves are drawn as layered concentric circles, which create arches and overlap. So you may consider this as a backdrop to yours. Japanese wave tattoos often symbolize strength and life through art, as I said before. So you'll see how this one differs from the previous wave tattoos of the first one. They all show repetition and rhythm and also balance. So this color woodblock is one of the most famous examples of Japanese art in the world. The wave is about to strike the boats as if it were an enormous monster, one which seems to symbolize the irresistible force of nature and the weakness of human beings. The Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, the British Museum of London, the Art Institute of Chicago, LACMA, and Melbourne's National Gallery of Victoria, and Claude Monet's oft-portrayed home and garden all boast having a print of this in their public displays. The Great Wave off Kanagawa is not purely Japanese in its style. Hokusai, who was the artist, studied European works in addition to Japanese ones, and was particularly inspired by the linear perspective used in Dutch art. Thus, the linear perspective used in this print was not a native form of art to Japan, or a native technique. His own variant on this device is evident in the low horizon line, while the European influence is apparent in his use of Prussian blue, a color quite popular on the continent at the time. You may also consider using motifs like this in your theme semester logo. So this refers to the term kimono, and it is a family crest used in Japan to indicate one's origins, that is, one's family lineage, ancestry, and status from ancient times. It is also referred to simply as mondokoro or mon, M-O-N. It is said that there are more than 20,000 distinct individual kamon in Japan. So you can see, again, the importance placed on symmetry and balance, and you can even notice the use of negative and positive space in each of these. Kamon are often referred to as family crests, which are European heraldic devices similar to the kamon in function, but is very different in many ways. Except for the European heraldic device, no other country has a similar tradition of a heraldic device system which identifies a family or a clan. Kamon is unique culture and tradition you can only find in Japan. Butterflies have a huge symbolism in their culture. Butterflies are seen as the souls of the living and the dead. They are considered symbols of joy and longevity. Crayons in Japanese textiles generally represent longevity and good fortune. They are most closely associated with the Japanese New Year and wedding ceremonies. For example, the crayon is often woven into wedding kimono or obi. Out of the many shapes, animals, and works of art created in origami, Japanese paper folding, the crane is produced most often. It is customary within Japanese culture to fold 1,000 paper cranes when making a special wish. Giant colorful necklaces of cranes are a common sight outside Japanese shrines and temples. Kimono is the word used to describe what has become known as the traditional dress of Japan. However, there are many different types of kimono. The type of kimono you wear identifies a person's age, sex, class, the season, the occasion, as well as personal taste or lack thereof. Symbols are a large part of Japanese culture. Designs on kimono, including family crests, are often crucial to understanding the occasion where the garment would have been worn, by whom, and what time of the year. In general, our bonsai symbolize harmony, peace, and an order of thoughts, balance, and all that is good in nature. Bonsai trees hold a strong meaning in Japanese culture, comparable to that of the Chinese penjing. The Buddhist monks that brought bonsai growing to Japan viewed these trees as a symbol for harmony between nature, man, and the soul. With that, the form of the trees also changed. Gone were the bizarre and grotesque shapes of twisting serpents and fierce dragons. From then on, the bonsai had great influence, and that there was more of an emphasis placed on harmony, peace, and balance. They started to represent all that was good. The mirror's symbolic value lies in its ability to draw forth intelligence, to liberate the mind as well. It also reflects the lesson that life is an illusion. It merely provides a reflection of reality. The mirror is thus a metaphor for the unenlightened mind deluded by mere appearances. The Buddhist parable teaches that the unenlightened mind is deluded by appearances. Thus, it is a common depiction in Japanese paintings. Here's another set of examples. The blue lotus symbolizes wisdom and the victory of the spirit over the senses. Manju Bosatsu, the voice of Buddhist law and the personification of wisdom, is closely associated with the blue lotus. The lotus is a symbol of purity and enlightenment, and in all Buddhist tradition, the deities are typically shown sitting or standing atop a lotus or holding a lotus. Although a beautiful flower, the lotus grows out of the mud at the bottom of a pond. Buddhist deities are enlightened beings who grew out of the mud of the material world. Like the lotus, they are beautiful and even pure, though they grew up in the muddy material world. The open blossom represents the possibility of universal salvation for all sentient beings. The lotus is one of the most widely known symbols of Buddhism. It is also one of the signs on the foot of Buddha and the principal attribute of Kannon, who is the Lord of Compassion. Nyorin Kannon, excuse my pronunciation, which is an esoteric form of Kannon, is often depicted touching a lotus throne, which represents a vow to save those in Asura realm, and holding a lotus bud, which represents a vow to save those in the human realm. Japanese is also known as the island of the dragonfly, or Akitsushima. So these images are essentially a synthesis of the different types of symbols that we had talked about before. So you might consider pairing several of these symbols together when making your themed logo. For example, you see the lotus, you see the chrysanthemum, you see the koi, the pheasant, and the butterfly. And those are the symbols I have for you today.